All right, welcome to Take a Beat. We have some super special guests with us here today. We have Pastor Mario and Pastor Daniela in the house alongside Pastor Tirza, as always. Pastor Mario, Pastor Daniela, we're so happy to have you at Back to the Throne Conference!
Yeah! And for Take a Beat.
Okay, but by the way, Josh wasn't here.
Yes.
So what is the purpose of this podcast is not to
get fired.
Okay, Josh,
Don't get fired.
don't get fired.
Yep.
Okay? Between the four of us, we know stories that they don't need to know.
Yes.
All right, so don't get fired. That's it. That's all I want to say. Let's keep our job beyond this conference.
So if we sound a little too chaotic, it's because we just finished Back to the Throne conference. It just ended. Like, there are people still outside not wanting to go home. And yeah, good job.
Good job,
Pastor
my Josh. Good job, Josh.
Praise the Lord.
Yay.
Nobody got injured. Well, major
My
injuries.
wife was like looking at the thing, and then I was like, and I said, wow, this is really well put together. And then my wife was like, yeah, it's the German guy who's putting it together. So, yeah, that's true. Josh is in charge. He did a good job.
Yes,
right?
yes,
Josh did
yes.
a good job.
Good
so.
job. How do you feel now that it's done?
I feel like I'm ready for the next, like,
How are you going to invite us
what?
again? We'll come
Oh,
back
for
again.
sure, for sure.
Something.
I remember when the chapel finished, because during pandemic, Klapagading, worship, I actually saw you much more.
A lot of people don't know that. You were singing a lot of great songs and a lot of great music video in Klapagaring.
Exactly. I mean, and I love whenever I get the opportunity to worship with the IS Klapagading family. And I remember you mentioning is like, when the chapel's done, are you gonna get an invite?
I always ask to be invited.
Yes. But no,
because it's kind of like going home for me.
Yeah.
Like when other people invite me to go to other churches, it's technically work, right? But
That's
here,
true.
it's not. That's why invite me so I can go home.
and so, like I said, I felt
Dude,
like
why do you need an invitation to come
No.
home?
Because I do have a job.
that's true.
And we do not want to get fired from that job.
Again, we don't want to get fired.
No, but it was somewhat a no-brainer. Obviously, I knew that I wanted you back and then Pastor Day as well, and conference just seemed the perfect event. Also because going back and planning this conference, I wanted it to be a family event, like
Yeah.
an IES family event. You know.
And I think that's what's so cool about it is that we were excited to be here because we look at the speakers, and obviously there are some of them that we don't know because we haven't been here in a while. But it's Andy, right? It's Thierry. I mean, like all Pastor Ants. So it's kind of like I said, it's kind of like coming home for us, and it's always good to be back home. So yeah.
Love it. Love that we were back. And also,
Okay.
No,
you
know
have
what?
to tell them what happened 3 days ago.
What happened 3 days
Oh,
ago?
tell them what happened 3 days ago.
What happened?
3 days ago.
So there's a lot of things that happen.
Which one?
Which one?
Oh, she made me feel bad making her do this.
Why?
As if Josh invited me and I drag her along. Like, girl, they're your best friends and they invited us.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm dragging you.
Because the whole
So
thing.
be honest.
Yeah, we were. I'm really bad at replying messages, and so
I know.
sorry about that. But Mario goes
To me too. Drives me mad.
Then Mario goes, babe, did you check your phone? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, did Josh text you? I don't think so. And I check.
And again,
then
the
it's
German guy, if he say he's gonna text, he texts.
Yes.
Yeah, and then it's like, you better check again. I was like, oh, okay. And so, because I sometimes I don't reply to other people's messages, so
I
it's
bought
kind
a new phone for her, so there's no excuse. Our
Yeah.
phones were really bad.
of really
So I was
bad,
like, okay,
really old, so it dies all the time. So as I reply, sometimes it dies, and then the one I already typed before is missing, and then what they sent is also missing. So I'm going, can you send that message again? Because it's not on my phone. So
But this is not what happened a couple days ago because
So I was like,
everything was already
"Dude,
good.
are you sure? I think he just wants you. He just he's inviting you.
No, initially the plan was for you to preach one day and Pastor Daniela to preach another day.
Exactly.
And then you brought up the idea of tech team. I was like, that's pretty cool.
Because I know if we do it that way, I will preach day 1 and she will tell me to preach day 2 as well. So that's why let's just do it together. It'll be more fun. So you cannot escape from this. Dude, he's like this close to pull the plug. Be honest.
Yeah, I shared.
Confession time.
Come on, confess. Right now, you tell Josh.
One of the illustrations today was me talking about our son Mufasa, which we talked about.
And finally, they told the
They
teens
understand.
who Mufasa is.
Yes,
Yeah.
not
Continue.
Simba's dad. Yeah. So no, we were going through a really really rough time with Asa and Maui and Anna. So I was kind of like, I don't think we can bring them. Right. Like they came to church today. Asa has a scratch on his cheek. Anna has a scratch on her nose. And so I told Maria, like, babe, I don't think we can do
And
this.
then by the time we got
cannot."
back from church yesterday, Maui scratched himself. Like so,
Yeah.
he hurt all three kids, including himself. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
So I was telling Maria, like,
It's
I don't
insane,
think we can be in a hotel. I don't think this is you can go. And then I was like, no, it's okay. And I told Maria, like, maybe if we don't tag team, I can do day 1, and then we just go home. You can be in the hotel. But I don't want to be in the hotel by myself.
What am I doing in a hotel by myself?
And so it's
Very true, very true.
yeah, but because in my head I was just stressing out so much about how the kids will handle the whole situation, and so I was focusing on how this will go. And then my husband was like, no, the parentals will be there, they're gonna be okay, just trust me. I'm like, oh, okay. I was like crying.
She was crying, man. But you know what? Not going all spiritual, but it always happens. Like when we all want to do great things for Jesus, you know, there's always something that happens.
And today too.
I mean, you know what happened to Maui, right?
Oh, he threw up.
Yeah,
Yes.
he threw up. Like, it happens all the time.
Before conference even started,
Uh-huh.
we had complaints from next door. Say,
Yeah. Titus told me
turn off the volume.
before the
the
conference
Yeah.
started. But yeah, it always happens, and you know, and that's
And I
why.
should know better, because when my parents used to, I mean, when we were little and they did ministry, something always happened to Christy and I. Like either we got sick or something, right? You know.
The two of you, I don't think, scratched each other.
Yeah.
No, that's the
That's
Tahiti
just
genes.
The Tahiti,
That's
the Tahiti genes playing a part.
But yeah, I always believe that when we do something like this, especially, you know, for the first time, right? I mean, at least the first time since the pandemic, it's going to be powerful. It's going to be meaningful. And I just want the kids to know that, hey, we're doing this for you so that you can have a closer relationship with God. And then in 10 years, we retire, you get to do this, right? I mean, like that's basically what happened to us. So anyway, but yeah, thanks for inviting us. We really
Thank
had
you.
a good time.
Yeah, look at him.
Thank you for
Well,
being here.
yeah.
Really, thank you.
Well, and thank you for Tirza for inviting us to the podcast.
Thank you, Tirza.
No, one of the things that he asked last time, he's like, oh, you just invited us now after 20-something episodes.
Like, you know, before to get to us. But why did you want to do it, Josh? I mean, was it because sometimes, you know, the lead pastor will ask you to do it, or is it something
You
that
almost
you think?
didn't do it, right?
No, I've been telling. I had this conversation with Petey a few days in his office. Obviously coming out of the pandemic, we did an online conference in 2020
20. That was when I was in the hospital.
with Pastor Tirza,
In a hospital?
where
For real?
a day before the conference started,
I had surgery.
she had surgery,
Like
Oh
emergency.
my
Like I had to go to the
emergency
ER.
surgery,
Okay.
and wasn't there. Praise the Lord, surgery went well. Tirza's good, all good. This year, I was like, okay, we wanted to. Camp wasn't really an option, so I was like, let's do a conference. You know, something
Yeah.
at home, new building, and so we kind of planned it out. The German and me, since last year, we kind of have a 2023. This is kind of what we'll be doing at Teens. But 2 months ago or 3 months ago, 2 weeks before we officially published that we're having a conference, I was thinking to myself, I don't think this is a good idea.
Why?
Just looking at my schedule,
Yes. Because if you look at the schedule, it doesn't make sense, right?
it doesn't make sense
If you look
whatsoever.
at the budget, it doesn't make
But
sense.
it's not just the church schedule. You look at his
Yeah, that's right.
schedule.
That's right. That's right.
But it was like, just a clear answer is like, this is my work you're doing.
Yeah,
This is not about your work.
Yeah.
This is about what I want to do. And so immediately it was like a no-brainer. And I tell this Matthew and Titus all the time in our staff meetings. When it comes to the teens, we always go the extra mile.
Absolutely.
And especially like I know like for our teens, a lot of times like this is the first kind of summer since the pandemic's really died down.
That's right.
A big chunk of our teens are already in LA, in Japan, all over the globe. And
Yeah.
it would have been easy to
Similar to
say,
us.
it's all good.
Yeah.
But each and every single teen, or not only that goes to IES, but who attended, because we don't only have teens who go to IES, teens who attended Discovering, they matter. And so it's like, it's going that extra mile, being obedient to what God has put in my heart and the team's heart as we pray about it. And so then you just say yes. And like I said, like if I look at the conference too now, based on my workflow, how I would like, this was not how Josh works. But I think that was the point, because it's not about what Josh wants to do, but what God wants to do and the Holy Spirit.
The way
so
he wants to do
The
it.
way he wants to do it.
I
That's
think
right.
Josh needs to stop talking about himself in the third person.
I think Mario would prefer that too. But I think we're not gonna mention names, but we're an international church,
Yes.
and you know that we have brothers and sisters. They stop doing kids and teens activities when people are traveling, because there's a lot of people from other countries. The expats, they go to that church. So when it's holiday season, they all travel. Then
The
you
church
you
goes
guys
on holiday.
bye.
time to
you're
take
not
a
going
break.
anywhere?
Time to take a break.
So sad. But they're they want Jesus too. They need discipleship too. They need this Congress too. And this conference.
Congress
Uh,
happens
nah, nah,
in
that-
about a couple of months.
Don't get fired. I'm not gonna say anything. I'm not gonna get fired. I'm not gonna get expelled, disbarred, whatever. But what I'm trying to say is that I just want to say, if it's a camp, we wouldn't be able to go. And I have a feeling that a lot of those volunteers who are sharing their time and everything, especially the one doing the workshop, they probably cannot make it, Josh.
Yeah.
And the most important thing is that if you go somewhere with the teens, everybody else feels left out. But because you're doing it here, you're involving, different pastors, different people from different ministry, it feels like our thing instead of just the teens thing, which it's something very sensitive, in churches. Like, oh, it's the teens.
But
What do we have to do
But I
anything to do
think
with
that
it?
is part of the, being in the household of God. It's
Is that so?
no, because in church we kept on talking about the household of God, So now my vocabulary is the household of God. It's all interconnected, and so if you have just the teens do something, and it's sort of like, okay, let them just do their thing, and no one else is involved. It's like teens aren't part of the family, or like kids
Absolutely.
aren't part of the family.
Right.
But if they are part of the family, that means you have to be there. You have to be involved and invested, even if you're not directly invested in the program.
Absolutely, and that's Pastor Dave, right? I
Yeah.
mean, he always makes sure everybody's involved. But I'm just saying that because Josh made that decision to hold it in-house in this building where most of you guys go to the office, where it's not that far for me and my wife and for the members of the church, everybody, it's you make it easier for everybody to get involved. I guess that's what I'm trying to say, and that's what matters. It's not just doing stuff for the teens, but doing stuff for the teens together with everybody in the church. And it was a blessing. We saw a lot of people we haven't seen in a long time, and it was really blessed. So
Yeah.
Sawidi, that was really weird.
we got to talk to Michelle and
Got to talk to
Sharon.
Michelle, got to talk to Sharon. We saw a lot of people that we never had any idea that we will see them where they are right now. Not because they were like living a wild life. It's like, oh, can I believe now he's with Jesus? Or no. It means like
The prodigal
we just
children.
never thought that we would have this privilege from God to again go back home and go like, oh my goodness. Not only Josh is a pastor, but she's singing with Josh. That person is doing this. That person is doing that. Michelle is doing a workshop. I forgot her name, Michelle.
Santos.
Can you imagine Michelle Santoso is giving a workshop? I mean, I was like,
But it was a good one too, like nutrition.
Really?
And I was like,
Yeah.
wow.
So what I'm saying is that, this is hard work, right? Everybody, this is hard work. So for us to be away and to come back and sow the seeds like what God promised, it bears fruit, hundreds and hundreds folds. It's like, yeah, that's true. It happens. All the things that we did, it's not, it's not in vain. God can do something with what we did. And, we're not saying that, oh, look, Michelle, you're, this is for you. No, it's not like that at all. But it's just to go like, yeah, we were praying for you. We were there with you. You were there with us. And this is where you are in your life. And it's by the grace of God. And, we use Michelle as an example, but, we met so many people, and it's just such a blessing, and it's really a good reminder for us.
And the teens too, like not a lot. Some of those teens I used to teach them when they were and toddlers when we were still in UOB. So to see them all grown up and still, living for Jesus and still seeking,
And
the
they
truth.
better keep living.
Amen.
Well, and also like for me, thank you for inviting me to the conference too. But I got to see like my teens, like Jaden and Matt and Nicole, and I was like, they were leading games, and it's like so much fun. Everyone's shouting, and I'm here like in tears because I'm like, oh, they were in teens when I was a teens pastor, and
when they were learning how to play music, learning how to sing, you're like,
and like one of the I was talking to Jaden about how different songs remind me of different worship leaders, and there was a song that reminded me of Jaden, and even like we were just laughing about it. The teens were jumping around, and I scooted over to them and I said, do you remember this saying, if I jump, you jump. If I don't stop jumping, you don't stop jumping. And they're like, and they just like laughed out loud because they're like, oh yeah, you used to tell us all the time and we were so out of breath, but you kept jumping, so we had to keep jumping. And then they're the leaders now, and they're praying for teens, and I'm just in tears.
yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, the people that we minister now minister to other people. It's just like, it's a privilege.
Teens that we went to teens with.
Yeah.
I mean, we were
Teens
teens.
that I used to lead.
We went to teens with.
That's right.
like
Way
Sharon
older.
and Michelle.
Way older.
To see them ministering and pouring into people, I mean, it's just it's awesome.
I mean, we talk about this in the last podcast. I mean, to see you. Well, Tirza, we already knew that Tirza is going to be a pastor, but seeing you working in the church, seeing Christy, I mean, we know Dea is going to be a pastor. I didn't know Christy is going to be a pastor. She's my sister-in-law. Jojo, oh Lord Jesus, sorry, brother-in-law. But yeah, we didn't know that he's going to work in the church. I mean, Arya. I mean,
Josh ran away to the circus before coming back and becoming
I know.
a pastor.
I
Go
was
to the
like-
desert.
You did good though, Josh. We saw the pictures. It looks good. Yeah.
It was also
And I just want to say, unlike Hugh Jackman, you can sing very well.
Thank you.
You don't
Such
need
shade.
somebody to fix your vocals. You did really, really well. I was really, really proud of you. Wait. Are you which character were you? Are you the Zac Efron or
No,
the,
I was the Hugh Jackman.
Jackman.
So who's the Zac Efron?
He didn't exist in this story.
Ah, okay. See, there you go. There you go. Because if there is a Zac Efron, Josh wouldn't. I know Josh. I know Josh. No, that's good. But for to do that kind, it's you have to stop and you have to go like, whoa, that's wild. And this is the moment where we stop and appreciate it, right? Because everybody, you got your own thing going every week. We got our thing going every day, every week. If you don't stop and have this conversation and just go like, can you imagine this happen? Then not only people never know, but we forget too. Yeah. Is Ben in ministry over there? No.
I think so.
Aria's brother Ben.
He's also one of those people who doesn't text back.
I love you, Ben.
Please text us back.
But yeah, I mean, like, Weedy was a deacon. The people in the older one, my generation.
We do was leader
Our
when
leader.
we
Yeah.
were in
Yeah.
He's like, that's how old I am. And Gary, sorry Gary, who's older than me and been a
Wow,
deacon for a
this
while.
podcast is
He was involved in this conference too. You know that, right?
I didn't know.
He
What
helped
did you do?
us plan the games.
Seriously?
Yes.
How come he's not here?
because he's there in spirit.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's the brains,
You
a part of the brains of the
lazy bum.
operation.
Show up.
Do it again.
Thank you, Gary, for helping.
It's not
with the
my
lyrics.
deacon.
Oh,
Who
the
cares?
games.
But like just seeing different people, and that wouldn't happen if the generation before us did not. Number one, didn't prepare us, and number two, never give us the opportunity to serve and to grow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, let's just be honest. How many lead pastors look at me and go like, "Yeah, you should open a church." Not when you're 50, not when you're 40. Right now, 34, you start a church. Like not that many people, and but we have that culture.
Yeah.
If you have the gift and you have the heart and the obedience, IES and in our church United Club of Guiding, we will support you.
Yeah.
No matter what God, where God wants you to go. Yeah. But anyway, we had a good time.
Yeah. And, okay, this is something that I love, that you, between last night's session and today's session, you went from Genesis to Revelation.
That's right. Might as well, right? Look, I got
He's-
2 nights. What do you
he's
want me to
like,
do?
I don't know when I'm going to get invited again, so I'm going to go from Genesis to Revelation.
Let's get this over with. But it was fun. It was fun. It was fun, and
It was fun.
again, I'm gonna have. I love the IS Club of Guiding people. I don't work with the teens, and I think it's the same capacity. But the teens that we have here today in this conference, I mean, they pick up really fast, and that's both a privilege and should be scary for you. You got to be smarter than them, or like at least fake it, fake it till you make it.
Tons of prayer. Tons of prayer.
Yeah, but they're really fast. They understand where we're trying to go, and they understand the importance of what is being shared. In both evenings. I mean, it really speaks to them. I mean, for those of you who weren't here, obviously a lot of you weren't here. We're talking about putting Jesus in the center.
Yeah.
And that if everything else is before Jesus, no matter how important, no matter how urgent, then life is going to be in order. And if they remember that when they have their first breakups, when they, have their first bad grades in college, when they, they're about to the Kowalskis about when they're about
Canadian
to
name?
lose their scholarships, when they're about to be fired, if they remember that we put Jesus first no matter what's going on, that's
Money.
money, but yeah, we're fighting in a world where there's going to be different voices who's going to say that there will always be something else that is more important, more urgent than Jesus, and we have to keep on reminding them and each other again and again that you got to put Jesus in the center.
And I think that's part of I feel like observing everything. This is part of the beauty of doing a conference like this, is it's sort of like take a break and then reorder things,
Yeah.
right? Because you're talking about Jesus has to be at the core of things. Jesus had to be at the center of things. The center has to be strong.
That's right.
And other things, other people, other priorities are not strong enough to be in the center.
Hugh Jackman part.
No, no. Yeah. He's just like, no.
But I think, and I by the way, I just want to say that that was a God thing. I'm like, oh man, I wish that those guys will sit in the floor, because the first night was a lot of movement. All of us here, including my wife, we're all performers, right? Not just on the stage in the church, but we're performers. And you think about it, and when I think about it, when I prepared a message for the first day, it was supposed to be they're sitting down, I'm moving around, they're laughing, my wife comes out, we close it down. But I wanted to be intimate the second night around, because I didn't want to, I don't want to make that many jokes, but because
Dude.
well, you are who you are. right? But not too many jokes. I don't want it to be funny. I want it to be intimate. And when Josh said, Pastor Mario, you want people to sit or on the floor? Before I said it, the kids like, we want to sit on the floor. I'm like, oh yeah, this is a God
Praise
thing.
Jesus.
God is
Yeah, yeah.
working in this place because it's just, I know for people listening, it's like that doesn't sound important, but when you plan something, when you have a vision, and then it becomes a reality of what's happening, you know that God is working in that situation. And it was a wonderful experience preaching to the kids. I really had a good time. And I just want to let you know, it's really nerve-wracking for me because you went to a teens church, you went to a teens church, you went to a teens church. Never. I didn't like teens. I'm like, well, I want to marry one, but that's a whole different story for another time. But
No, you know,
I'm getting fired.
I feel like I need to publish a clarification.
Pastor Mario.
But what I'm saying is that it's always challenging. Like I don't know what to do, but I know that whatever I miss in explaining, my wife will cover for me. And knowing that she has the experience, she has the vocabularies and the passion for these things, it really helps me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, if
But
I
think
miss something, they
one
will
of
cover.
the things too about teens ministry, especially in this context, in our context, is they don't need a message that is watered down. They don't need a message that is
It's never like that.
yeah, because I think there are these preconceived notions in people that teens needed you need to speak their language and things like that. But I think the message that you delivered, it's a message not just for teens, it's for grown-ups as well.
Yeah. What do you think, babe?
Yeah,
You're the one who. You speak to teens. We speak to young people. She speaks to kids. How do you translate that? How do you do that?
honestly, it's we asked the Holy Spirit tonight, because when we were just walking through before we had to go in the room, Mario was like, hey, let's drink, let's do a potty break. We always remind the kids do a potty break before you do anything important. So that's what we were doing. We were walking down the hallway, and then Mario was like, hey, do you have a story you're thinking about for tonight? Illustration. I'm like, I don't know. Well, it'll come to me. And as soon as you were speaking, and then I was like, okay, I'll tell that story.
Yeah.
Because it's really just because, like Teresa said, right? It's not about the lingo that we have to do. It's not about maybe it has to be the delivery part. Like we cannot be monotonous, boring.
Can I say something? If you read a manuscript in front of people younger than 20, then it's your fault. Don't blame the kids. Don't blame their attention span. Don't blame that they're not, spiritually mature. You are a dumas. No, seriously, you're just dumb. There are certain ways. Don't get fired. But Josh, no, but what I'm saying is that you don't have to be the coolest guy. You don't have to be the coolest guy in the room like Pastor Josh. You can be a little bit older like Pastor Mario, but let's put it this way: engaging is engaging.
Yes.
Right? And being real is being real. And we live in a world by the grace of Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
They appreciate realness more than well packaged.
More than curated anything.
Yeah.
I think it's that realness also that really with teens is just it hits differently because I tell myself this every time too when I'm speaking to the teens. I'm not speaking at them. This is something we're all going this journey on life. I'm reminding myself of God's word that changes lives here. I need to hear this too.
But that's why it works, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, they copy other people's sermons. They look at something on the video. They see what Hillsong is doing, other churches are doing, and then they copy that. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't learn from somebody and copy somebody. I copied Dave Kenny for the first 3 years of my preaching life, but what I'm trying to say is just that if we are so blessed with living in that generation that they appreciate our authenticity more than, you know, the cool language and the cool, you know, lingos and the cool, even cool outfit. I mean, remember there was a thing where people start wearing leather jackets because the guys in Hillsong were like
Dude, I
wearing.
wear leather jackets.
Well, yeah, you wear leather jackets. No, but you understand what I'm saying. But you wear. It's kind of like, well, my don't get fired. But yeah, my wife has tattoos because she wants to have tattoos, not so that people will invite her more because she looks cool in front of the teens and the young adults. It's not like that at all. You know, like, and people are like, oh, Pastor Mario is trying to reach the young people wearing jeans and shirt. Like,
That's what you look
t-shirt. I'm like, this is before I preach. This is after I preach. And this is, if I can be in my coffin with jeans and t-shirt, that would be great. But, you know, like, we are who we are. We tell God's story through our experiences. And I think, because, Josh, can I just say something? With all due respect to the other teens pastors before, but you and Teresa, you know, you really connected with them, and that's especially a bit. And you know, the teens pastors in IS Club Agaring, I noticed the same thing. They have that relationship, and they don't need you to be cool. They just need you to be real in loving and caring, and they will follow you to the death. Because unfortunately, as we know, some they don't get it from their friends, their parents, and I'm glad they can find it in our churches. I think it's so awesome. In our church, I don't like calling it churches. We're you know, we're family. So yeah, are they telling us to stop?
Yeah.
They don't know that we're gonna keep on going. They have no idea.
They're signaling, and I'm like, eye contact, no eye contact.
Checking it. But hey, you know what? I want to ask you this, like, Josh. So, you know, sorry, but Bible school. You know, like, so. What about you? I mean, like, how does that? Does it bother you a little bit? How does that make you feel when you're like, I gotta prepare a sermon, and like, I never go to school where I learn how to prepare a sermon.
Yeah, I mean, it can be intimidating, especially because the teens are so smart.
They are.
And
So smart.
for the longest time, I mean, this whole pastor thing for me is like, because I love people, I love journeying with people, but for me, the whole preaching was always like, I don't want to stand up on stage and
Seriously?
preach. Yeah,
Seriously?
until this day, I sometimes
Give me a call. I'll be here. Like, I'm one of those guys. Like, you give me a mic, I'll make things happen.
He's always like, seriously, I don't like to preach. You know I don't like to preach.
but it's part of the job, though.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
like, yeah.
and I
and he's great at
He's
it
good.
too.
I've seen him.
And
I've
now
seen
I
him.
see it as more as it's an honor when we get
Yes.
to share God's word. And for me, it's like I said. I mean, yes, I'm no Bible scholar by any means. I mean, I grew up in IS all my life. I've listened to Pastor Dave.
Yeah.
Kenny preach all
Best Bible school I
preach
ever had in
all
my
my
life.
life.
No, seriously.
That's right.
That's a lot of Bible history, man.
But
Yeah.
like I said, for me now, like even with the preaching, sometimes like the one thing which I'm just really thankful for, because I have to work that much harder when I'm writing my sermons, you know, and there is that element, okay, you got to work that much harder, but it also becomes this beautiful and intimate time that I get to kind of just like, okay, this is like, let's dive into God's word.
Correct. And I think what where I want to go with this is the fact that, you know, they think that the gift that I have, which is the speaking and the motivating and the encouraging things, you know, breaking down the Bible and everything like that, that's not pastoring. That's preaching.
Yes.
And there are so many other things about being a pastor that Josh is just naturally gifted at. I was talking to you know, Nick Thay, and I just reminded them that, you know, there are so much more things about being a pastor than what people see. And a lot of it, you know it if you grew up in the church. All right? Subject 1, subject 2, subject 3. And I told these guys, like, you know, I went to school. I mean, I really know the Bible really, really well. But there are certain things about being in the church, relating to people, relating to teenagers, that you guys have institutional knowledge I never had. Like my wife has to say, like, dude, babe, you better talk to that person. I'm like, nah, fine. Like, no, you talk to that person right now. And I have a feeling that all three of you guys, you know those things before somebody like me. Out of all four of us here, I'm the lead pastor, and I would go like, I have no idea. And I guess that's what I'm trying to say. It doesn't matter, it does matter. Preaching is important, but it's just because that's not your main gift, it doesn't prevent you from being the pastor that God wants you to be.
Yeah.
And we're here just to say, good job, Josh. I mean, because you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
And they kick us out. And with that,
I love that. No, when you're like, oh, where I'm going with this, I'm like, I'm glad somebody has an agenda for this podcast, because I'm sitting here and I'm like, oh, we're just
I have an agenda. Don't get fired.
Strike two. Let's end it right now.
Okay. Friends, before any of us gets fired, we need to close it down and just end right here. But we have had so much fun, not just doing this podcast, but also being with the teens at Back to the Throne conference. And it doesn't end here.
That's right.
There's
The podcast?
no.
They want to go home. Look. He's like, no, the podcast ends here, right now, right here.
Yes,
now.
the podcast is ending, but the Holy Spirit is going to continue working in each and every one of their lives, our church. Yes, all of that.
So next time we're doing this is another podcast, a Club Gading podcast, but we don't do it in studio. We do it in restaurants. You guys want to come?
Down.
Should we go?
Sign me
Let's
up.
go.
We'll do it.
Do you guys want to go?
We bring them.
Let's go.
Yeah, we bring them. Doing guerrilla, camera stuff. You ready? You want to go with us? All right.
Okay, gorilla, not you know
do-
what?
do-
You know what?
Never mind,
We'll
never mind,
explain
never mind.
later.
Yeah, never mind.
Okay, thank you
thanks,
so much.
thanks for inviting us.
We'll see you guys next episode.
Don't fire us! Don't fire